And that's actually what we're going to be discussing today is management training. Now that you have an employee manual, how do you train your managers, and what is the method that you use to train them? Because as you guys all know, we're dealing with people, and people are darn difficult. You know, you've heard the expression herding ants. My mother loves the expression herding cats. She's a cat lover. And if you've ever tried to herd a cat, you know, they have their own personality. They want to do whatever they want to do. And they don't want to be herded by anybody. So you know, you'd rather play with fire than try to manage cats or ants or people. So what we're going to talk about today is really in that environment that you create. How do you manage your employees once you have the employee manual? As we've kind of discussed, or you know, might have mentioned, is that there is no law out there that says you have to have an employee manual. No law whatsoever that says you have to have one. But why would you want to have one? What's the main reason?
Guidelines.
Guidelines, yes. Set boundaries. Communicate to your employees what their expectations are. You know, really just to be a good communicator. If you really have clear and consistent communication, things tend to run a little bit smoother. But, you know, Mike, you don't have a copy. Well, let's...
What? Copy what?
You do me a favor and give me that trash can.
Sure.
Just real quick. I've got a demonstration. Just something I hate to do to you, Mike, but it's kind of the overall theme of kind of what I think of employee manuals. And although I don't have one, do you have a sample one in there?
Yeah, but I don't want you to throw it away.
Okay, what's this go?
Here you go.
They told me mine's trash.
Okay, when you really look at an employee manual, it's like you really don't have to have one, and you shouldn't. It's kind of funny because I've been to a lot of employers' offices here in the last month or two. And one of the reasons why we wanted to have this seminar is because we were getting a lot of questions. Like every time Mike turns around, he's getting, I'm in the middle of my employee manual. And I remember a conversation I had in Rocky Mount, not you, regarding, you know, a person that we've been talking to for a year, and they've been coming to the seminars, and I was just kind of getting reacquainted with her, and we sat down, and I said, you know, tell me how things are going. You know, what are you up to? What can we possibly help with? And we kind of went over some issues, and she got to the employee manual, and you saw this face light up. I mean, you would have thought that she had a Tiffany box in front of her with a Hope diamond because she was so proud of the employee manual. She went into it. She was excited. She said, yeah, we got that done. You know, it cost us $5,000, and she was so excited about it. I said, yep, we don't need to worry about that. Let's go on to the next one, the next thing. I said, well, tell me about the employee manual. Are you doing the training, or is the lawyer doing it? She takes a look at me. What? No, I got the employee manual. It's all done. It's complete. Look, it cost me $5,000. Look how wonderful it is. I was like, well, why would I need to do training? She asked. We kind of went into this conversation of why you have to train and what the legislation, all these laws and regulations that are now coming out are saying, and Brendan's going to get into this much more, is that the employee manual is really rendered useless or ineffective in the absence of training, whether it's training your managers or training your employees. So when it comes to your employee manual, I think the emphasis should be less on the actual manual itself. That's just because I'm teaching this section, and Mike taught the first one. If I was teaching, there'd be more emphasis on the employee manual. But there should be more emphasis on the behavior of your managers than the actual employee manual. You know, the greatest firms really don't need anything in writing, even though they do, like the Googles and the Facebooks and the Microsoft. They technically don't need something in writing for an employee within a short period of time to be able to know what the rules are. You come to my house and my wife fixes you dinner, you're going to find out very quickly what the rules are. Because you're going to see my 7-year-old, my 6-year-old, and my 3-year-old. They take their plate, they take it to the sink, they wash it out, and they put it in the dishwasher. And then they start sweeping and they start cleaning up and they do their chores. Why? Out of respect for their mother. So I have these people who are looking around and say, yep, you're next. My wife's not cleaning up every day. She gave you a nice little meal. Now you go and clean up. But you don't need a manual to know what the rules are in my house. You're going to find out really quick because of how my kids act, how we act as adults. employee manual might be nice if I'm Mormon and I've got 50 kids. You know, we've got some wonderful Mormon kids, friends, and they've got a lot of kids. You know, it might be necessary to have that. You know, my wife's family is Catholic. It's just amazing. So, you know, be more concerned of your managers and, more importantly, their behavior than the actual manual. The manual is just the foundation. It's not the whole building. It's not the whole structure. You're not done when it comes to manual. Actually, you just got started. And now it's all a matter of training those employees. And one of the greatest stories that you'll hear to the testament of how employees and managers are trained, if you've ever read the book Good to Great. Has anyone read this book? Good to Great? Besides people who today, they're all required to read it. But I recommend it. I recommend getting that book. You know, good is really a virus when it comes to great. It's the evil of great. What am I looking for? Great. Huh? Well, the
Antithesis?
good is the
Antithesis?
well, no, that's okay. Yeah, in the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, there's all these stories. There's 11 companies that he kind of takes you through and to let you know how the management team really looks at you know, the company and how it's run and how it looks at employees. And if you look at Nucor Corp, I recommend you go to their website. It's incredible. You know, dealing with their philosophy and where they've come from and what they're all about. But Nucor, when you're hired there, you're hired to do the work of 10 people, but you're getting paid as if you're 8. They have very clear expectations. And you know what? You don't need to be managed at that company. There's no manager that's going to tell you what to do. The employees are going to tell you. Because if you ruin their bonus structure, they're going to run you right out that mill. And there's actually story after story where they will, there's these stories of the actual employees running people out of that company because they don't meet the quality standards that are put in place. So if you do things the right way, and you train your managers, and more importantly, you train all of your employees, the manual becomes less and less needed because the employees will then demonstrate what the expectations are and will be that constant, you know, police. You know, instead of having one manager, now you've got 500 managers of the company that are telling the employees, well, you better not do that. That's not what we do here. We have a higher level of expectations, and they're going to be run out because they're not fitting in. So Nucor is you know, a great example of that. So how do you create this environment? What we're going to do very quickly is go through our agenda. What basically we're going to do is go through leadership. We're going to understand kind of what management is compared to leadership. We'll talk about power versus authority and what kind of environment each develops. Leadership characteristics. This is going to be a little fun little exercise. There's a card in the back of your book that's a colored card. I'm going to have you go through a brief exercise with that. And we'll talk about where do leaders come from. And I think Brandon is going to get into this just a little bit more with his opening for the compliance part. You know, how is a manager to know? And we'll go over the old paradigm. You know, where did this idea of management structure come from? You know, this old paradigm of management structure. And really, what is the new paradigm that we really need to be focused on? And that's when we come into the servant. Everything in this first session really comes from the book, The Servant. So I recommend that after you leave here today, if you like the concepts, I wish they were my own. I wish my name was on that book. But James C. Hunter, an amazing, amazing writer. And all the concepts from this seminar are directly from him. We'll get into needs versus wants. And that kind of gets into Maslow's pyramid we'll talk about briefly. And more important, we're going to talk about that environment that we're trying to create. There is an environment right now at your business. It's either a positive corporate culture or it's, you know, it's just kind of there by accident. But everyone has a culture. And we determine if it's by design or is it by accident. And how we kind of weed that garden, how we legislate behavior is by making sure that we keep people accountable and we make sure that they do follow the rules and the policies and procedures that we put forth. And really to help with this, help with that whole task of creating that great environment. We're going to talk about The 1 Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard and I think it's Spencer Johnson, the guy that wrote Who Moved My Cheese. Wonderful. All of these authors are just amazing. The great thing about The 1 Minute Manager, it takes really less than about an hour to read. It's very, very simple, put in simple terms. So we'll talk about goal setting, 1 minute praisings, and 1 minute reprimands. Really look at why we focus on managers so much is because when you really look at the statistics, and there's two kind of studies that were done, and I love Gallup. Gallup's got more information than I've ever seen. Is that their website is just chock full of great information, so I definitely recommend visiting there. Just make sure you have some time because you'll get lost in there. You'll just rabbit trails everywhere. But a study was done in 2000 that looked at just thousands and thousands of exit interviews, 60,000 to be exact, and they looked at why people left. And they really left because of an unsatisfactory relationship with the boss. You looked at Gallup that looked at 12 million workers, 7,000 different companies, over a certain period of time, 25 years, and they found that people don't leave companies. They don't leave companies. They're not leaving because of the physical needs that they have, not because of pay. They might say, yeah, I've got 50 cents down the road more per hour, and we never have a contract that says they're leaving for money, right? So they're not really leaving for that reason. When you really look at and really interview these people, they're really leaving because they can't stand their boss. They have a bad relationship with their boss. And really loyalty, when you look at places like Famous Anthony's, it's a restaurant. I never would have thought that you'd have people there year after year after year after year on first shift. It boggles my mind, but why do they stay? Why would anybody stay at a company like CV Fleet? Blown away by that company. I had a chance to talk to some of the employees, the people that were on the wellness committee there, said, why are you doing this? And the woman kind of went through a discussion of how, I tried to get into this company for 6 years, couldn't. Finally, I got in. She pursued them. She wanted to get in because of their reputation, because when you get it to be an employee there, you're really part of the team. It's just like with Nucor. You look at their website, it talks about teams, not employees. They're team members. It's a different philosophy on how they treat people and how they get such loyalty. But more importantly, as a company that's not that's for profit, they have to generate money. They have to generate revenues, and they generate a lot of profitability. And the employees are very rewarded. Again, 5 employees working as 10, getting paid as 8. They're rewarded for that loyalty. But look what the management style is getting. They're earning a loyalty through a particular management style, and this management style really is displaying characteristics of modeling leadership. My father always said, do as I say, not as I do. That didn't work so well for me. So showing respect, nurturing, teaching, supporting growth, providing workplace challenges, sharing information, and giving space. Those are the psychological needs that each of us need. We'll kind of get into that just a little bit more. So, a couple of the key words is that you're really circling management style. If we're going to get this type of loyalty from a company or from an employee, that is that we need to have a certain management style. So, circle that word management style and really underline all of those characteristics. So, we're going to discuss those. If I can get off track and I forget to do the slide, just let me know. This is my first time using a PowerPoint presentation. I usually can't stand them. It restricts me. So when you really look at the environment that we are faced with, is that I spend more time at mid-stage than I do with my family. Really look at it. I got a 7'6", a 3, and now a 3-week-old. Brad and I were talking about this yesterday. Really, I've got a good hour in the morning. I get them up and get them dressed, and they do their stuff, and we do breakfast in the morning so Mom can be upstairs with the baby and do her thing. And I get a good hour with them. I take them to school. A good hour. We get to chat and talk and do all that fun stuff. And then I get, maybe a good hour, hour and a half. If I'm lucky, 2 hours at night. Get home around 5:30, and they have to go to bed at 7:38. So I don't get a lot of quality time. Really, when you look at it, I spend more time with Brandon than I do anybody else.